guys. Thanks for coming to my session. I know it's early morning, so I really appreciate it. And I'm so pleasure to be here. So I'm Eozin Che, lead creative technologist from Science Visualization Group at American Museum of Natural History in New York City. So AMNH is one of the most premier cultural institutions in the world, I guess, and we have vast collections of artifacts and specimens, which is like great resource and material to share culture, history, and tell stories about natural world. So our mission is to discover, interpret, and disseminate information about human culture, like I said, and the universe through the scientific research, education, and exhibitions. And I'm a part of this group called Science Visualization Group. And for the past few years, our team has been creating interactive experiences that combine science visualization and emerging technologies, including gesture tracking, AR, VR, and MR, and even spatial, to deliver some scientific concepts and make it as accessible to public visitors. And our work has been featured in various media, and most of them are currently exhibited in the museum in permanent halls and special exhibition. So if you come to the museum, let me know, and then I can give you a little tour. So here's the basis of our work. So we have over 34 million specimens and artifacts in our collections, but less than 10% of it is exhibited. So like what you see on display is only 10% of what we have. So we wanted visitors to be able to experience and explore the rest of the collection, but because there's a physical constraint, so it's impossible to display everything. So we leveraged emerging technologies to allow the public to have a little better or interesting access to all the artifacts we have. So that's our focus and my role to introduce technology to the museum. And we've archived some of them in digital format. So we have massive digital collection in digital archive, and it's digitized pictures, paintings, illustrations, collected specimens, and they're available for public viewing, but it's only accessible through this website. And we have great human resource. We employ and interact with a large group of cutting-edge scientists, and they examine and interpret that massive collection and provide scientific data to us and share with our team to generate AR and VR experiences. And these are some examples of the data they generate and use in the course of their research. So these are all ready to use in AR, VR, and so as you see, it's very high resolution, like CT scan, or like a NASA data, like map of the universe, like Mars, Moon, and we have really high-res images of that. And bunch of pieces you can put together, and it's also scalable. And one of the scientists we worked together 2 years ago was Abigail Curtis, who had a vision of how to understand different echolocation calls that bats make, and understanding structural differences in bat skulls, and that explains how diverse bats communicate to each other and hunt. And we extracted the data from that 3D CT scan and then mapped that onto evolutionary tree and make it connected to the learning goal that Abby wanted to deliver through her research. And she made a specific suggestion about leveraging that data and make it as a VR experience. So we made a very simple, like few minute prototype where you can toggle on and off labels to see different parts, and then seeing in large scale and seeing in different angles. So, very simple interaction, but introduces really different way of viewing the 3D CT scan that scientists only see on 2D screen in their research lab. And so the critical part of our work is also like for us as a digital artist and technologist to lead and introduce visions we have when it comes to using those data and the visualization of the data. So this is one of the data that we leveraged recently. It's called Digital Universe. It's the most accurate and complete map of the known universe. So there are obviously tons of data, and we suggested different ways to like make it as interactive experience. So sometimes touch table, sometimes gesture interactive, sometimes AR, VR, but we are not really limited by the medium, but we have make suggestions based on the conversation with scientists, what they really want to communicate through this experience, and also we know what is possible in existing technologies. So we always discuss and find a sweet spot for those two. And this is like it's pretty old project, and it's called 360 Big Boom Room. So scientists always want to show the behind the scenes stuff. For paleontologists, this is the room they work all the time and store dinosaur bones, and it's not open to public. And visitors always want to see the behind the scenes stuff like this. So we made this interactive 360 video experience where you can kind of talk with this paleontologist, like standing in the center of the room, and then as you look around, it's a gaze-based interaction. So as you look around and as he mentions certain bones, it highlights and you can just turn on the 3D scan of it and information layer, and then you can explore more about it. So it's very short, but just giving this access to the behind the scenes stuff is really fascinating, and visitors always want to see more and more side of that. And also, so this is the mock-up image that we presented to scientists 2 years ago. We envision basically using AR and MR technology overlaying this scientific layer on the display or the structure in the museum, even that like big giant glove that has planetarium inside. And then that gave us inspiration to have this shark AR project, which is very simple prototype in AR and MR format. Sorry. So we made 2 different versions. So using Google Tango, at the time it was kind of cool technology. So basically, as you see, we overlaid that shark skeleton on that physical display, and then you kind of have experience seeing through that physical layer and seeing the skeletal structure of the shark, which is based on the CT scan. And when you wear the Hololens, you can see and walk around the shark, and it's animated. And we found that it's kind of hard to learn, for people to learn that the gesture. It's very challenging, and so we made everything as voice command active content. So they just basically say what the shark should do: bite, swim fast, turn, stop, or something like that. So, and people really loved it, and people love to make a connection to the physical exhibition, even though it was not overlaid on the top of it. And for scientists, it means it's bringing their research and CT scan to life. And so this is the CT scanner we used in their lab. And a little bit of production. So we 3D scanned the display and distorted and morphed that CT scan of the shark to match the pose of the display, and then basically animated to bring it to life. It's very simple but very powerful. But as I mentioned, we found the major challenge is steeper learning curve for HoloLens for users, because it's really challenging to learn like where to see and like how the gaze works with the finger gesture to click something. So compared to other medium like touch table, so you know what to do, and we don't need to really facilitate because they know how to use their fingers to zoom in and out and stuff. So we found that the amount of information we can deliver in a certain amount of time is so different. Like when you have to learn like many things about HoloLens already, you can't really focus on the shark. So that was the major challenge we found, and I guess you guys all agree with that. But the opportunity this kind of medium has is when we are talking about something 3D, and the basic concept we want to deliver is 3D-dimensionality of the data, it works beautifully. So on a flat screen, it's oftentimes very confusing to see something 3D, and like as you move in space and perspective changes, it changes the shape, but it works much better in HoloLens because it render everything in 3D naturally. So you don't need to make that interpretation between 2D and 3D. Also, the power of HoloLens is spatial mapping. So we took this Mars surface data and mapped that onto the floor. So you turn this whole of the universe into Mars surface. And people were really engaged with that. And then the great thing about this is it's kind of like 50% opacity, so you can still see the embodiment. So they're not afraid of exploring the physical embodiment while seeing this your layer. So I guess that's the power of spatial mapping and power of mixed reality that we found. And from those prototypes, we learned a lot, and we applied our takeaways to our real product, which is AR Explorer we launched this year. So that's an AR feature of our museum app called Explorer, and that's a 2.5 version, and we are going to launch next version 3.0 next year, I guess. And so for this project, we actively apply lessons from our previous AR prototypes, which is overlaying digital layers directly on physical exhibits. But the challenge is really to precisely superimpose the content on the target and just have users to stand there and like point at a certain angle and see through the screen. That's very challenging, and people feel it's really unnatural. So we found offsetting the content opens up more opportunities, obviously. So just by just being able to put these AR objects anywhere, like on the street, any part of the museum, and even on your hands, which is really popular interaction, they really like found the fun and sociable factor of the experience, and then not only like limited by that objects you're interacting with, you interact with friends and taking photos of each other with AR. So it opens up opportunities for like social experience as well. And these are the inputs you can use in our module. So basically everything that you can do with AR: tap, gaze, distance viewing angle. And capitalizing on that feature, it expands what you can do in our museum. So it allows you to place a baby T-Rex under the adult T-Rex and comparing their sizes. And you can walk around pointing at different body parts to learn more about the baby T-Rex. And our pterosaur AR exhibit brings this 5-meter tall flying dinosaur back to life. And you can see how it have moved in full scale and small scale. And everything's based on the scientific, really like accurate research. So like how it flies, how it glides, and everything, how it moves its neck and everything. So that's all reviewed by curators and scientists. And obviously you can enlarge small stuff, so basculus and microfossils, which is like size of like a sand of grain. And then you can see it in large scale and explore and seeing all the details. And you can walk through the CT scan of the mako shark and see inside as well. So AR obviously becomes a new attraction that can alter visual flow through the museum and bringing people to underutilized and less popular spots in the museum, and that's a great opportunity for us. And it also introduces new ways of interacting with physical exhibits. So that's the corner that nobody cared about until we introduced new attractions. So that's really good opportunity for us to explore more. And next, we launched a multiplayer wireless VR experience as a part of our current exhibit, T-Rex, the ultimate predator, and which goes until next summer, I guess. And this is the floor plan of the exhibition. So we have 3 stations, and it's multiplayer, so they can interact in VR. So it's kind of in the middle of the exhibit, and we really carefully designed this and having enough room just in case, there are always crowds of people like seeing VR preview screen, and that could block the visual flow in the exhibit. So we designed it, and it's first come, first serve. So you have to line up, and we still have a debate how to manage the line, because we always have long line for this VR. So for this special exhibition, we allow 400 people per hour. And then there are only 3 stations, and it's 5-minute experience. So we can only serve less than 20 people per hour, while there are 400 people who want to try. So that's a big challenge that we are facing right now. And we developed this in collaboration with HTC5, who gave us a lot of technical support, and still we are working very closely together, developing more sustainable solution for this wireless in museum context. Because for them, it's very new to try, new thing to try. And we have a single player version. It's an at-home version available on Viport. It's €5. And it has some additional exclusive content, like an animated interview with scientists and curators in the museum. And so far, we got a pretty good review, and it's 5 stars. So yeah, but we just launched 2 months ago, so we are collecting data. So this is a little video about it. So in this experience, 3 players team up and build a T-Rex skeleton together, and it transforms the museum into a paleo environment in Hell Creek, Montana, 66 million years ago, where you see the T-Rex comes to life. And it goes until next year, August. So our focus was bringing physical world to virtual world, and so the initial inspiration for us was this dinosaur puzzle in Discovery Room in the museum. So basically, what you do in VR is what you can do with this puzzle in physical reality, and this gave us a lot of clues to design, like snapping pieces into place and how it'll feel working together to solve a 3D puzzle, and collaborate and learn about like piece of bone and stuff like that. And then obviously core mechanic is 3D bone assembly. And then we thought about what's going to be a great payoff. So what if you just complete one body part and then it's like boom, and then just stomp. And then we have so many prototypes. And these VR prototypes, it's like a bite-sized app that really only make 1 or 2 functions work and test on really focused part like a core mechanic like this. And then seeing it in 3D and VR so that you see what's the pain point and what's the hidden part we have to pre-assemble for users. And apparently we prototype some transitional moments. So when it comes to life, the skin and muscle layers on, so we have multi-rounds of prototyping for that, and this is what we ended up with. And so the picture on the left side is the T-Rex biomechanics, the diagrams given by our scientists and curators. And then we made it super simple in the experience by just animating and then make it as a payoff. So yeah, rather than complex explanations, because no one's gonna understand what it says, the diagram when they see the diagram in VR, so we just made it as a simple animation. And a bunch of user testings helped us to shape our experience. So we tested on many different groups, including alpha testers, beta testers, internal people, staff who are gonna operate the experience, and people in disabilities, so people in wheelchair. So we invite them to this VR, and people who has different vision. So oftentimes we get questions about, oh, is it gonna work with me who has only like one eye works and I don't have one arm, can I try VR? And we say, yes, we can try it. So yeah, we design for that. It's flexible enough to try, and we guide them to try a certain mode and certain station, certain part, which is the head of the T-Rex. So that's how we operate this VR. And this user testing really helped us understand user behaviors in VR and really simplify the experience. For example, nobody wants to read text instruction in VR. And like I said, we pre-assemble a lot of parts for visitors. And people, when they find each other in VR, they want to toss the bone and throw the bone to each other, and that way they can have fun interaction, which is not really related to the core mechanic, but still we enable that interaction so they can play around it. And the social aspect of the interaction, this experience is really important. So they see each other, they can cheer of each other and share the moment of accomplishment where like T-Rex comes to life when they finish the assembly. Like, yay. And then we have a big screen and it's open, so it's not really like hidden like one isolated VR room. So it's really open floor plan that enables other visitors to see what's going on in VR. And here are some unique aspects of XR experiences in cultural institutions, which could be challenges, opportunities, or unique constraints for content design. And yes, one of the opportunities and constraints of museum XR projects is that content is driven by the institution's collection and data from experts in the field. So for example, the shark, that simple animation was based on the modern current research of the shark, and there's specific opinion about how that lower jaw has to drop when it opens up, and what's the moment that it should pivoting back, and like that detail. So that's the level of detail we pursue when we animate stuff. This is a bed bug, and the size of the bed bug in relation to that mosquito exhibit is accurate. The speed of walking, wobbling, and like how it folds and unfolds the mouth part is also very accurate scientifically. We are aware that some other platforms, like based on 2D screen, can deliver more messages, like I said, and that enables visitors to explore more functions in limited time, like dissect the thing and see inside. So for this, we wanted to communicate the message that insects breathe through this breathing tube, and that really limit the size of the insects. So that's pretty simple educational message, but in VR, we even made it simpler and very linear. So you just click the leaf, and then you become a size of the insect. It's like a Alice in Wonderland kind of experience. And then you click, and then they're all written and voiceover that explains what you need to learn. So it's a 2-minute experience that just really hits the direct educational message, not enabling any other functions. So that's the way we design VR experience for the museum. And obviously we target a wide range of audience. So our intended audience is general public from all around the world, speaking all different languages in all different age groups. So, and most of the cases, they're first-time VR users. So for first-time VR users, it can be difficult to walk into the world of VR, and it takes time for them to learn and figure out how to make things work for them. So generally speaking, we have a lot of steps to help them to go through that experience, even though it's 5-minute experience. And people don't necessarily expect to do AR and VR in the museum, and when they see that, it's a pleasant surprise for them, but still it requires a lot of facilitation. So it'll be great if we can integrate that part in the experience, so the experience itself should explain what's going to happen next. So that'll be very helpful. And we found there are a lot of excitement around this new technology, and we found that some high schoolers or middle schoolers can actually bring some ideas in by just giving them opportunity to learn technology, and they come up with ideas to make a puzzle. So for example, we made this escape room experience using Hololens. So it's a combination of physical and mixed reality puzzle. And these high schoolers we invited for a week came up with ideas of puzzle, and then they just made it happen. So what we need to give is access to the technology and give a little bit of tech support, and then they can design some creative content. And museum offers diverse context, provide reasons for cross-platform experiences. So we have guided tours, education cards, and sleepover inspired by the movie called Night at the Museum, and some after-hour programs, and some talks and lectures, and film festival. Also, we tested pop-up VR stations and mixed reality lounge and sleepovers for adults, and yeah, again, education cards and donors and VIP events. So we took our VR AR prototypes and tested on different group of users, and it's been very successful. And it was really great exercise to highlight we have these diverse venues to let us continue building these cross-platform experiences because we need it. And everything in the museum should be designed for social experiences because the number one reason people come to the museum is to socialize with their social group, like friends and family. So we don't want to isolate them when they're experiencing VR and AR. So that's a really important factor we have to consider. And yeah, and of course you have to think about the potential impact on visual flow, because AR can disrupt visual flow by creating this weird, like circling around this anchored AR object that nobody sees. So that's a challenge we have. And also maintaining harmony with the existing exhibits is important. So not taking their attention away from the physical exhibit. It should always work with the physical exhibit because that's why you're in the museum and that's the point of on-site experience. So bringing their attention back to the physical exhibit is the part of our design process. And also balancing this passive intellectual activities like the reading label text and seeing the pictures with this active, like immersed and full body experiences like immersive VR is also important. We don't want to have like thousands of pictures but just only one VR or AR. We want to really balance the amount of content on both sides. And these things can be summarized in 7 key strategies. And these are kind of the checklists that we use when we design new experiences. And we've been actively applying these strategies to our ongoing projects. So basically simplify things and make it social, and visual flow, think about it and plan for it, and conduct user testing, and gameplay itself should promote active learning. So the conclusion, looking to the future. We found that XR brings really awesome opportunity to change our production process. So by integrating AR and VR, we can be more productive and shortcut some processes. For example, we made this interactive display where features stories about climate changes and climate data. We basically made a virtual version of the hall and put it in VR because we didn't have an only access to the physical installation. It's a 36 like high resolution display that requires like months of installation. So before it's finished, we made this only VR preview version of it. And then we put our prototypes, and it's very quick and easy. So what this app can do is you can easily replace the prototypes as you build. It's like prototype 1, prototype 2, so you can see the alternative design and make some important design decisions as you build the prototypes, testing in VR. So this is before and after. The photos on the top is reality, and the pictures on the bottom is virtual reality. So it's pretty similar, and it gives really the sense of scale and visual complexity we have to manage in the final content. So that was very helpful. And we currently have a plan to transform screening spaces into VR theaters, which is very exciting. So we have very small screening spaces that accommodate up to 10 people, like all like throughout the museum. And then we really want to make use of it because it's underutilized again. Nobody really cares. And then, what about make it as an open plan and take out all the like benches and screens and then make it as open space for VR and make a VR theater. And for that, we are looking into this technology. We are in the conversation with this company called Parallax, New York-based startup, and their work is based on NYU Future Reality Labs work. So what they do is they build technology that can accommodate multi-user, like a mass audience up to 100 people, and in shared VR space. And that's going to enable a truly shared VR experience in the museum. So we are really excited for that. And for those technologies and projects, we have a new home. We have an extension building opening in 2 years. And that's called Gilder Center for Science, Education, and Innovation. And we are currently building it. We are under construction. And we're going to have dedicated space for visualization lab and some play areas for kids and middle schoolers and some like study space. And we have enough room to store all the VR, AR content. And we are gonna have open and put more stuff on the display, like insects, which is very challenging thing to put on the display because it's tiny. Also DNA collections. So we are looking into opportunities to build the project around that collection that we are gonna put on display. Also, this is a little snippet of our current project. It's called Aim&H Collection Visualizer, and we just got a OK sign to work on this. So, which is, sorry. Yeah. So the message here is we wanted to give more direct access to the general public to our collection. So, and multi-user class platform experience can enable that in the best way. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna feature different stories behind the collection and all the objects in the collection. So and viewing collection through the lens of space and time. So when it's collected, where it's collected, and who provided that collection, where it's coming from, what's the cultural background of that object, and like highlighting all the aspects of that, like not just showing it and getting people to read the label tag. And we are partnering with Microsoft. So we are going to get some help from Microsoft HoloLens team, and we are going to put that back to the exhibit. So it's kind of an updated version of what we initially did with Shark AR, but in larger scale. So yeah, so in that sense, for example, people can see one mask on the display in the context of the collection and seeing all other masks and all other cultural instruments within that category of the collection. So that's something that we want to showcase probably next year. So that's our current stage. And if you have any questions, let me know. And if you come to New York, please visit our museum. Thank you.